All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a super relatable story about a teenager facing a sudden, tough setback. And we're going to use it to reveal some pretty profound, actionable insights on cultivating emotional intelligence. We spend so much of our lives just learning the facts, the figures, memorizing the scripts of exactly how things are supposed to go. But what happens when that script gets thrown right out the window? How do we actually build the kind of inner resilience that keeps us steady? Well, let's explore exactly how that works by looking at a totally fascinating interaction between a mother and her daughter.
So I want you to just think about this for a second. Reflect on your own immediate gut reactions when a meticulously planned situation suddenly falls completely apart. Maybe it's a massive presentation at work and the tech just fails, or a heavily planned vacation derailed by a storm, or honestly, just your carefully orchestrated morning routine spiraling into chaos. When the teleprompter of your life suddenly goes blank, do you adapt or do you freeze? Do you panic or do you pivot? We all like to think we'd handle it with absolute grace. But the reality, it's usually a whole lot messier. Keep your own reaction in the back of your mind, because this exact dilemma is at the absolute center of the story we're looking at today.
Section 1. The off-script problem, losing the lead role. To really wrap our heads around this dynamic, we first need to meet 14-year-old Sarabi. She has just received some incredibly disappointing news. She lost the lead role in her school play. And for a teenager, that kind of rejection, it feels absolutely monumental. But what's really vital to notice here isn't just that she lost the role, it's why she lost it. The teachers didn't say she was a bad actor. In fact, she can narrate her dialogue perfectly. But Sarabi is realizing that her teachers saw a very specific vulnerability in her. They knew that if a prop fell over, if another actor missed a cue, literally if anything happened even a bit out of place, she simply wouldn't be able to handle it. Her core flaw was a massive over-reliance on predictability.
Now, a typical parental response here might be to just blindly comfort the kid, blame the teachers, maybe write a strongly worded email to the principal, but Mama's response is entirely different. The crucial point here is her tough but incredibly validating honesty. She tells her daughter straight up that she agrees with the teachers. She defines Sarabi's core flaw perfectly, pointing out that while she thrives in scripted situations, the moment things go off script, she just packs up. Mama is actively choosing not to offer empty comfort. Instead, she's highlighting a genuine life skill deficit that her daughter desperately needs to confront in order to grow.
Moving on to Section 2, the leave vacation trauma, proof from the past.
And Mama doesn't just leave her critique as some abstract opinion. She backs it up with hard evidence, reminding Sarabi of a family vacation to Leh that went completely sideways. And we're not just talking about a minor travel hiccup here. Their flights were severely disrupted by rarefied air. They were forced into an unexpected, chaotic overnight move to Srinagar. They had to scramble for a morning flight, and get this, throughout this entire ordeal, they were literally being escorted by armed forces convoys. That is a highly unpredictable, incredibly intense situation. It's the ultimate off-script scenario, where all sense of normalcy is totally stripped away.
This brilliantly illustrates the vast difference in how two people can experience the exact same unpredictable crisis. On one hand, we see the sheer panic of the teenager. Sarabi herself admits she was traumatized by it. She clung helplessly to her mom, completely lost her appetite, and her mind just raced with wild, catastrophic thoughts. But contrast that directly with Mama's reaction. Despite the rarefied air, the abrupt changes, the armed convoys, Mama slept happily all the way. She had the internal resilience to remain entirely calm and centered while the external environment was spiraling into chaos.
This stark contrast triggers a massive light bulb moment for Sarabi. Seeing her own total panic compared to her mom's absolute peace, she arrives at a huge breakthrough. She asks this beautiful, direct question, practically pleading, "Then teach me confidence and control on myself." She recognizes that this isn't just about a school play anymore. It's about a fundamental gap in her ability to navigate the real world. She essentially wants someone to hand her the instruction manual for self-control, assuming it can just be taught to her like lines in a script.
Let's look at Section 3, Taught versus Developed Skills, the core framework.
This brings us to a really essential framework that separates everything we learn into two distinct buckets. First, Mama explains there are subjects that are taught in class, things like science and history. These are external facts, mathematical formulas, dates that can easily be handed to you by a teacher or read straight from a textbook. But then, there are subjects that must absolutely be developed from within. You just can't sit in a classroom and take notes on how to make the right decisions during a crisis. Nobody's handing you a standardized worksheet on how to creatively generate more options when you're backed into a corner, or how to boldly tackle learning completely unknown things. These are internal emotional muscles. They have to be built through experience, not just memorized through a lecture.
Mama makes it very clear to Sarabi, you can have all of the classroom knowledge, the highest test scores, and the perfect scripts in the entire world. But it's these subjects developed from within that ultimately guide the individual to true success. Resilience, adaptability, and that quiet confidence to handle completely unscripted moments, those are the underlying drivers of a fulfilling, self-directed life. But that obviously leaves us with a huge question. So how do you actually develop a skill from within if it literally can't be taught by a parent or a teacher?
And that brings us to Section 4, Choosing the Unknown, the Unconventional Solution. Mama gives Sarabi a stark, totally unexpected choice to force her into navigating the unknown. She tells her daughter she must choose to dedicate herself to learning one of two things: Braille or swimming. Now, neither of these has absolutely anything to do with acting in a school play, right? And neither of them are standard academic subjects for her. They are entirely foreign territories. This is highly unconventional parenting for sure, but it's designed specifically to pull Sarabi completely out of her scripted comfort zone and force her to grapple with the unfamiliar.
Now, what's really fascinating here is Sarabi's instant reaction to these options. She immediately accuses her mom of cheating, saying it's not even a real choice. Why? Because Sarabi already has a deeply established fear of water. She tells her mom, "You know that I will choose Braille, anything to stay out of water." She is actively choosing an incredibly difficult, unknown challenge, Braille, simply as a defense mechanism to avoid a fear she already knows she has.
Let's reverse engineer this brilliant parenting strategy, because honestly, it is a total masterclass in building internal resilience. Step 1 is to force a choice between two uncomfortable or unknown situations. Step 2 is the inevitable result. The individual is forced to step outside their comfort zone, regardless of which option they pick. They just have to face the friction of learning something without a script. But step 3 is where the real genius lies. Mama tells Sarabi, "And once you learn it, teach me." She's establishing a clear path to mastery. By telling Sarabi she will eventually be the teacher, she's instilling this powerful sense of responsibility, ownership, and authority over this new, totally unscripted challenge.
And the absolute second the choice is made, Mama does not hesitate. She immediately dials the number of the nearby blind school and initiates the conversation right then and there. This is a crucial move. She takes immediate, decisive action to lock in the commitment. She's not giving Sarabi the time to second-guess herself, to start rationalizing a way out, or to try and write a new, more comfortable script. The leap into the unknown has officially begun, and there's no turning back.
And that brings us to the final thought of our explainer today. We've seen exactly how Sarabi was forced off her familiar script to build those internal skills that traditional classrooms just can't teach. We saw how stepping into the unknown builds that essential muscle of resilience. So I have to ask you, to build your inner resilience, what is your version of learning Braille? What is that completely unknown, unscripted territory that you need to step into right now to prove to yourself that you can handle life when the teleprompter goes blank? Find your unknown, lock in your commitment, and boldly step off the script. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.